And the night we changed the locks, I only noticed the second key because it was the wrong kind of shine. Our apartment keys have the flat, city-polished gleam of metal that's been ground through 1,000 mornings. The one lying on our kitchen island that Friday, waxing under the pendulum light like a holdout star, was a different species. Its teeth were too clean. Its handle had a notch, not rounded like ours but cut at an angle. My name wasn't on it, no colored tag, nothing. Just a sliver of permission for a door I didn't recognize. "Did you see this?" I asked. Eva didn't look up from the pan. Her hair was in a knot, new gold hoops flashing whenever she moved. She flipped the salmon with the confidence of someone who could negotiate a ceasefire and then played it with a lemon slice. "See what?" "This key." I pressed a thumb to the nub. "Where does it go?" She glanced, noted, shrugged. "Could be the storage unit downstairs, or the bike room, I don't know. Is this an interrogation, Nate, or are we still flirting after 7 years? Interrogations can be foreplay." "They can," she said, smiling into the steam. "But you never remember the safe word." "Did we establish one?" "I texted it to you last month." "Which thread? Your personal assistant one, or your board chair one, or your friend Mila's bachelorette planning one?" She slid the salmon onto 2 plates, turned off the flame, and faced me with that patient expression she saved for people she loved and people she would win against. "You'll figure it out." We ate at the island because the dining table had become her battlefield. Files splayed in drifts, color tabs like flags. She was spearheading the charity's gala at the Hotel Mavros the next night, a marble palace that overlooked the river, and the river overlooked us back like it knew too much. Eva radiated the kind of competence people graft their hopes onto. It was one of the first things I fell for. It was also the thing I resented when I felt left outside the room. "It's just a key," she said after we had almost finished. "Don't make it a symbol." "Of what?" "Of whatever you're restless about lately." "You make me sound like a horse pawing the ground." "You've been sharp," she said, choosing the word carefully, "and not only with me." "It's work." "You're a crisis manager. The whole point is not to bring the fire home." Later, when she was showering, my phone lit up. From unknown, Sparrow at 714. I stared at it until the steam reached the hallway, until Eva emerged with damp shoulders and a towel like a white flag. "Who's that?" she asked, casual as a question in a courtroom. "No idea," I said, which was not quite true. There had been 2 Sparrow texts over the last month, short, sly, almost like the sender was daring me to follow. The first was same time as before, which meant nothing because there hadn't been a before. The second had been a red cardinal emoji, which somehow felt like a private joke I'd missed. I hadn't told Eva because I didn't want to seem like a conspiracist unspooling yarn at the wall. I also hadn't told Eva because part of me wanted to keep a mystery for myself. That night I dreamed in rooms, door after door, each one opening on the same hotel chamber with a mirror propped on the floor and the bed half-made like someone had left in a hurry. Every time, I thought I could hear the river. The gala was the next night. The Hotel Mavros had the kind of staircases you can walk down without looking at your feet. The kind of carpet that knows every whisper. I wore a black suit that made me look like I should apologize to someone. Eva wore a midnight dress that had no patience for apologies. She lived in it the way some people live in languages. Her hand found my elbow, and I felt proprietary and proud, and like I wouldn't admit even in my own head off balance. "Smile like you trust me," she murmured, just before we entered the ballroom. "I do," I said, which was true or had been or would be again. Our table was near the front because Eva was introducing the keynote. The keynote, a developer named Grayson Kroll, had spent the past year buying riverfront parcels through a tangle of shell companies, promising a mixed-use utopia with affordable housing and an arts district and a promenade. The promenade had already been built mostly, except for the part where the basements of the existing buildings flooded twice that Spring and Kroll's company denied it was their problem. The charity needed his money. He needed their halo. The river wanted what it always wanted. Midway through dinner, Eva leaned toward me. "Mila's table is to your right. She'll adopt you if the speeches get boring." "I'm not the one who gets bored," I said. "You get curious," she corrected. "Different defect." Kroll was 3 seats away. He had the smile of a man who believed in inevitabilities. Beside him sat his wife, Leah, slim in an ice-blue dress, hands as expressive as the conversation she was having with no one. Her gaze slid to mine once like a coin across a table. She looked away first, which felt like something you could cash later. As glasses chimed, as waiters became synchronized swimmers, as Eva stood to murmur into the microphone, the screen behind her flickered through images of the charity's work. Shelters, scholarship checks, gleaming faces. I watched her. I always watch her when she speaks. She has a way of owning the ground and giving it away in the same breath, like generosity with a spine. My phone buzzed against my thigh. The unknown number again. Sparrow at 714. I looked at the table numbers. The ballroom only went up to 108. The hotel's guest floors, though. 14 was the top. Room 714. I was already imagining the corridor, the carpet thick as secrecy. I was already mad at myself for imagining it. I was already going. Eva finished to a storm of applause. She caught my eye and smiled. It landed somewhere behind my ribs and stayed there like a small, bright animal I didn't know how to feed. During Kroll's speech, I excused myself. I told myself I needed air. I told myself I needed to be the person who knew things before they were publicly known. Crisis managers call it staying ahead of the narrative. Husbands call it something else when they're honest. The elevator at the Mavros has a mirror that makes everyone look slightly better than they are. It was generous to me. 7th floor. Left turn, then another, and I was halfway down the corridor before I realized how exactly my shoes sounded on the carpet's patience. Room 714 was at the bend, as if God wanted a camera angle. The door was closed. A maid's cart was parked nearby, unattended, its white towels folded like mountain ranges. I wasn't going to knock. I was only going to stand close enough to hear if anything, anyone, any bird made a sound. The door opened before I knocked. Leah Kroll stood there, hair like a silk argument. She had taken off her shoes, and the line of her collarbone was geography. She looked surprised for the length of an inhale, and then composed the surprise into something else. "I thought you weren't coming," she said. "I don't know who you think I am," I said. She studied me the way people do who are used to reading rooms. "You're Nathan, from Eva. You looked like you wanted to be where the conversation is." "I'm looking for someone named Sparrow." "That's adorable," Leah said. "So are you always this direct, or is this a crisis manager thing?" "You know what I do. I know everything that matters about everyone who matters to my husband," she said, letting me see the tiredness behind the gloss. "Come in. If Sparrow's coming, they can share." "I don't." "Then stand in the doorway and pretend you're not in a room with me." The room was ordinary luxury. A couch that could keep a secret, drapes that sulked just right. A mirror was propped against the wall, not hung, at a tilt that made your reflection look like you were in on a private joke. A key lay on the dresser. The wrong kind of shine. A twin to the one in our kitchen. Nice key, I said, because sometimes your mouth goes first. Hotel copy. Grayson lost hours, she said, crossing to the couch. He loses expensive things. He replaces them with more expensive things. Sit. I didn't. She poured sparkling water like champagne. She curled her legs beneath her, an invitation to a conversation that would have to choose its edges carefully. You think your wife is cheating, she said, not as a question. Because of a key and a number and a bird that isn't a bird. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You wear your hypotheses like cufflinks. She tilted her head. Do you want me to tell you that she is? Or that she is so you can blame the universe instead of the person you chose to love? I want context, I said, which is what you say when you can't say what you want. She smiled. Context is overrated. Motive is romantic. Proof is ugly. She paused. For what it's worth, Grayson cheats. Not because he's hungry, but because he hates being told no. It's different. He could sleep with a wall if he thought the wall was withholding. Why are you telling me this? Because you walked into my room when you could have walked past it. She set the glass down. And because a husband I don't love anymore is giving money to a cause your wife believes in as if it were a laundromat, and your wife is smart enough to know the difference between soap and solvent. I'm not sure your board is. Are you saying there's something wrong with Kroll's donations? I'm saying the river will eat the promenade and your wife's charity will be a mouthwash for it. Leah stood and closed the space between us until I had to choose between stepping back or recognizing how the air changed with her near. I didn't step back. I'm also saying you are dangerously easy to talk to when you're hurt. She was close enough that I could see the tiny scar at the hinge of her jaw, close enough to smell a perfume that matched the ice blue dress without nomming it, close enough that the mirror caught us in a double that felt like a decision. I'm married, I said. It sounded like a spell I hoped would work. So am I, she said, and there was something like grief in it. Do you think that stopped me from anything I've regretted? Her hand found my tie. She didn't pull. She touched it like testing a thread. The part of me that had wanted to keep a mystery wanted to undress this one. The other part remembered how Eva looked in that light the night before, telling me not to make the key a symbol. Don't, I said softly. Leah didn't move her hand away. I'm not trying to ruin your life, Nathan. I'm trying to reroute it for 5 minutes. Sometimes that's all the difference people need. I should have stepped back. I should have said the safe word I still hadn't found in my phone. Instead, I looked at her, and then I looked at the mirror, and then I looked at myself looking at her, and that was when the knock came. Sparrow, I thought stupidly. The door opened without waiting for an answer. Mila stood there, breath short like she'd taken the stairs. Her eyes flicked from Leah to me to the mirror and back. She closed the door behind her and set her palms against it as if holding something out. Okay, she said to me, not to Leah. You've got about 30 seconds to decide whether you love Eva enough to get in trouble tonight. I took a breath that felt like it had been held for days. I do, I said. Then follow me, she said. Both of you if you like drama. Leah smiled with only half her mouth. Always. She slipped on her shoes like a promise to gravity. We moved into the corridor, into the elevator, into the second floor where the conference rooms live in hotels. Rooms with names like Cyprus and Orpheus that hold so many secrets they ring like bells if you listen. Mila led us to a door propped with a silver water pitcher. Inside, the air had that post-meeting neutrality. A projector hummed. On the screen, an email thread, anonymous, blurred in parts, clear in others. The subject line kept repeating as if shouting quietly. Flood liability waiver. The dates were all within the last 2 months. Eva turned from the screen when we entered. She looked like she hadn't expected me to be the first face she saw, and simultaneously like she hoped I would be. On the table lay stacks of documents with blue tags. A reporter I recognized stood by the window. He lifted a hand without a smile. "Hi," Eva said. Her voice was steady, but her throat moved when she swallowed. "We're late." "What is this?" I asked, and my voice had none of the play it usually had for difficult rooms. "It's us not laundering someone's sins," she said. "It's me making sure the money we take tomorrow isn't a weapon. Mila, thank you." "Always," Mila said, and flicked her eyes toward Leah with a recognition that seemed both new and prepared. "You wanted Sparrow. Meet Sparrow." The reporter, thin, tense, eyes like lightning about to choose a tree, nodded at me. "I'm Sparrow. Your wife told me not to text you because you have a dramatic streak." "You texted me anyway." "I like dramatic people when they're useful," he said, and she needed a witness, someone who would understand the stakes. I looked at Eva. The river was in her expression, that push and pull of risk and inevitability. "The key?" I asked quietly. "Hotel copy," she said with a fraction of a smile that wanted to be forgiven later. "And yes, I kept it from you. Not because I don't trust you, Nate, but because you wear your hypotheses like cufflinks." "Leah says the same," I said before I could help myself, and realized the error as it left my mouth. Eva's eyes found Leah and did the math in a line I could feel in my teeth. "Hello," Eva said to Leah, not cold, not warm, exact. "Thank you for not seducing my husband in a room I was using to topple yours." Leah's laugh was a single note with an aftertaste. "I am nothing if not considerate." Sparrow cleared his throat. "The emails show Kroll's company knew the promenade construction changed the river's flow and likely worsened the basement flooding, then drafted waiver language for grant recipients, charities included, so they couldn't sue. They offered additional donations to anyone who signed. Gentlemen's agreements, hidden liabilities. If Eva's charity takes his money tonight, they're bound." "You're publishing this?" I asked. "After cross-checking and giving Kroll a chance to deny it in a way that incriminates him," Sparrow said. Eva stepped closer to me, keeping her eyes on the screen like it could stop being what it was if she looked away. I needed to be sure I wasn't about to bless something I'd used to wipe other stains. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." "You told Mila," I said. "She's on the board," Eva said, and then, quieter. "And she was with me the night I kept the first key." "From who?" "From you," she said. "Because sometimes you try to fix things I need to break. There are infidelities that don't require kisses. There are betrayals that smell like good intentions." I felt the room tilt and knew it wasn't the projector. Leah was looking at me the way you look at a city from a bridge, daring it to fall and knowing it won't. "What do you need me to do?" I asked. Eva exhaled. It made her shoulders drop like a curtain at the end of an act. "Stay. Hear it. Then walk back into the ballroom with me and smile like we're not about to blow up a donor list." The projector hummed. Sparrow tapped keys. Mila folded her arms and watched what she had watched already. Leah drifted toward the window and looked at the river as if it were answering questions in a language only she spoke. We finished the review. Sparrow packed up with the neatness of someone who knows how quickly rooms must be vacated. We decided Eva would confront Kroll with the board chair in a side room before the auction. If he hedged, Sparrow would publish at midnight, and the charity would make a public statement before noon the next day, returning the donation with gratitude for the spotlight it had shown. A choreography of consequences. As we walked toward the door, Leah touched my sleeve. If you had kissed me, she said in a voice only I heard, it would have meant nothing and everything. Don't make it a symbol. I won't, I said, and watched her walk away toward a marriage she had already left in every way but the one that counts at parties. Eva and I took the long route back to the ballroom. The carpet held our footsteps like secrets it had no choice but to keep. Halfway down a corridor lined with grayscale photos of the hotel when the river pretended to be obedient, I stopped. The second key, I said, because I needed to come back to the first thing even after the last. At home. Eva's mouth tilted. Storage unit, she said. I knew it would drive you crazy. I almost told you just to watch you uncrazy. Then I didn't because you were sharp. And because I was angry that I couldn't tell you why I needed to be secret without making the secrecy pointless. You could have trusted me. I did, she said, just not the part of you that can't stand not being in the room. That part is wonderful when it's mine, terrible when it's not. She took my hand. Her fingers were warmer than mine always. Are we okay? We're in motion, I said. I don't know what okay looks like in a moving car. Then watch the road with me. We reached the ballroom's edge in time to see Kroll be charming at a cluster of people who wanted a reason to be near money that felt like a solution. The board chair caught Eva's eye. Tiny nod. The air before a storm. Eva turned to me. Her eyes were the color of honesty. After tonight, she said, let's change the lock on the storage unit, and the one on the story we've been telling ourselves. I'll call a locksmith, I said. Don't make it literal. I'm a man, I said. It's a disease. She squeezed my hand and left to do the thing she came to do. I watched her cross the room, spine like a straight line through the music and the murmur and the river's distant, constant speech. I thought about Leah's almost touch. I thought about Sparrow's texts and my decision to go upstairs, the pleasure of the chase, the hunger of it. I thought about the ways we cheat without ever taking off a ring. In the end, the confrontation bled through the walls, voices contained, then not, then contained again. The auction paused with a joke from the MC that wasn't really a joke. The donors whispered like they were telling each other weather reports. Leah reappeared at the back, face composed, eyes bright with something that could have been relief or ruin. Kroll left through a side door with two men who looked like law firms. The board chair returned, pale but upright. Eva stood at the mic and told the room, in the cleanest language you can use for a dirty thing, that the charity was grateful for the spotlight, but would not be accepting certain funds until the river was owed what it had already taken. The applause began as a question and turned into an answer. On the sidewalk afterward, the late heat drew itself up from the pavement. Sparrow shook my hand like he was congratulating me on a role in a play he'd cast himself. Mila hugged Eva so hard their necklaces tangled. Leah stepped close enough to speak without being seen. You'll be fine, she told me softly. You love a woman who walks toward fires. Learn the choreography. Stop waiting at the door. I'll try, I said. She smiled, less a promise than a benediction. If you ever need a storage unit for regrets, the river takes them all. When she left, when Sparrow was a shadow in a taxi window, when Mila went back inside to collect the files and her courage, it was just us. Eva leaned against me. In the hotel's glass, we were a double again, but this time we looked like we belonged to the same moment. Safe word, I said, remembering. She laughed into my shoulder. Coriander. I hate coriander. That's why it works, she said, and lifted her face to mine. The kiss wasn't dramatic. It didn't need to be. It felt like a door closing against something that might have come in if we weren't paying attention. At home, I put the wrong shine key in the drawer, and I put my hand on Eva's back as she fell asleep, and the city murmured its nighttime inventory. In the morning, we would call the locksmith and cancel nothing and return something and answer everything we could. In the morning, we would be saints of our small burnings. For now, I listened to the river in the radiator and learned the new rhythm of our apartment. Locks are not vows, they are habits. We changed them. We kept them. We made a new key together and hid it in a place we both knew, like a consequence, like a promise, like a map folded twice, and kept warm in the drawer where we put everything we're afraid to lose.